I just don't get. I get marriage. I get the concept because of the origins, but I don't get why people pressure themselves and apply a meaning to marriage that it was never meant for. And so before I keep talking, disclaimer really quick. I personally am not for or against marriage. I don't care either way. I'm very indifferent to it. You want to do it, do it. You don't, you don't. I believe that is a person's personal choice. And I'm a big believer that it shouldn't be influenced by other people. This should be a decision that one comes to by themselves, for themselves, and with their partner. It should be just a personal thing, not a because someone told me to do it, I'm going to do it. That's a disaster. So, like I said, I'm very indifferent to it, so I don't care either way. Someone wants to get married, great. Go celebrate, drink at their wedding and whatever. They don't, that's great too. As long as they're in a healthy relationship, that's the basis of it. Now, the part that I don't get is where people have applied a meaning to marriage that it was never even meant for. Like marriage, like they say, like I'm married for love. Now, if you did, you did. I don't care. I'm not getting on you. But what I'm saying is those are the same people most of the time that get on other people for not getting married. And it's weird, right? Because if you look back at the history of how marriage came to be, none of it at all had anything to do with love at all. It had to do with money, a sense of capitalism, both for the government involved, the federal and the state, and for the family, usually and especially of the woman, to marry into a similar or higher class so that both families can still maintain a sense of higher class or money status or whatever it is. Like we're dating back when there was no choice at all. Your parents had to choose your partner because they had to make sure that whoever you're going to marry into someone who's equal or higher as far as status and money and power. So it had nothing to do with love. They didn't even have to know each other. And they got married. So those are the origins of marriage. None of it at all was I love you, you love me, so we feel we have to get federal and state government involved. In order for me to prove to you, I love you, I'm going to shell out money on something that has nothing to do with us at all. That's not how marriage started. Now, I know some religious beliefs they might disagree with this because they're very deeply embedded and rooted and institutionalized in those beliefs, in where they believe that marriage is for love and it's a spiritual act, but it's actually not. The very origins of marriage is more of a money move, a secure move, and one that involves the government so that you are secure, you and your family are secure. So you could totally not even love this person at all and be married to them. So, not to say whether or not love would grow during that time, who knows? But that has more to do with the human experience than to just say this is my husband, which means absolutely nothing. The meaning behind it is put there based on the experiences and the compatibility and the respect and mutualism and chemistry and all those things that actually make up a healthy, ongoing, lasting relationship. It has nothing to do with whether or not this person has signed a paper to prove to the government and the federal state that they love you. So with that being said, let's fast forward to all the way to today, 2021. I don't understand why people put so much pressure on themselves or feel like they have failed, to the point where they feel like they have failed if they're not in a lasting marriage. Now, that is extreme pressure over something that has nothing to do with you, your self-worth, and the worth of who you attract in your partner and your relationship and things like that. So many marriages, and statistics outweigh anything I can say and have said. It clearly basically has said, with the high rates of divorce, that love, not only is love not enough, but love has nothing to do with it. Like, whether a couple gets married or not, marriage is not an indicator of a healthy relationship whatsoever across the board. The actual healthy indicators of a relationship have to do within the parameters of the relationship. You and the person, your willingness to self-improve yourself and be a full individual by yourself, your partner doing the same as well and finding their happiness within themselves. Both of you have a willingness to heal yourselves and come together as much as possible as the higher version of yourselves for one another as well. Mutualism, respect, compatibility, communication, comprehension, things like that, like a polarity. These things matter so much more than saying I got a ring, than saying he signed the paper, she signed the paper. You can have a phenomenally healthy relationship. I didn't say perfect, because of course any relationship, especially the longer it goes, the more evolution you're going to see from this person and they're going to see from you, because we don't stay exactly the same as when they met us, because we as human beings, we evolve, we change, we grow into better or worse versions of ourselves depending on the efforts that we make towards ourselves and our growth and where our mentality is. We are very complex, intelligent systems walking around in a meat package. So we're not going to stay exactly the same. We're not a robot. So it's also about adaptation and understanding and patience, and compassion, and a willingness to understand, and sometimes also do I sometimes got to put in more at this moment because my partner is going through XYZ, and vice versa. I'm going through XYZ, so they're putting in 80%. It's not always going to be 50-50. There's so much more to understand about a healthy relationship, the dynamic of it, and also the basic understanding of how complex we are as individual human beings just alone by ourselves, let alone having another complex, intelligent human being next to us as well. It is going to take you so much further than just being able to say that you guys signed a paper and walked down an aisle and kissed. That says absolutely nothing, and I didn't really want to bring my personal into this, because I'm not saying this based off of my personal. I could have had my first marriage be a beautiful, long-lasting relationship, and I would still be saying the same thing. I felt this way before I even got married in the first place, because it was at a time where I was starting to question why things were the way they were. And that was one of the things I was questioning. But again, I got married at 19, 18, 19. Very young, very pressured by religious beliefs that I was actually on my way out of. But everyone I was surrounded by at that time, almost everyone I was surrounded by at that time, believed that we should have gotten married because we were going to have a kid. And that's actually one of the most false statements I have ever probably heard in my life. Again, marriage is not about kids. Like if you're pregnant, now you have to get married. That's false. It's not about that. It's not about love. It's not about any of that. It's about security, financially, status-wise, class, things like that. Protecting your finances, this, that, and the third. Things like that's more of a legal move than it is one to show that or prove or solidify that you really love this person. And two, love is not enough. Two people can love each other and it not be right. They can love each other, but love is not enough. What if they love each other, but they don't respect each other? They're not compatible. There's toxic patterns in the relationship that can lead down a dark road. So many other components. You love each other, but the want for, the want for each other, the chemistry is not there. There's not enough polarity to keep that going. Like there's so many other factors that outweigh love. And you can love someone and still move on and find another person that's actually compatible with you and has all these other features and dynamics that make that relationship actually a lot healthier than just holding on to somebody because you love them. Where that can lead anywhere. That can lead down toxicity or whatever. Now, if love grows in the healthier dynamic relationship, even better. But love is not, it's going to sound weird, but love is not a requirement. It's not. What's more of a requirement and what more actually plays out on the day-to-day that brings it to the years and years and years later is the respect, communication, comprehension, mutuality, things like that. And that is what actually drives a healthier dynamic. And the ability to also be unbiased can also help a lot too. Not always giving your partner advice, for example, based on something that's going to benefit you. Being able to think outside of yourself and help them come to a conclusion that can help them without your influence. So there's so much to this, but I don't see why, I just don't see why people pressure themselves to walk into a legal agreement based on the inner insecurity of whether someone loves them or not. If anything, I think, especially how I just said it right there, if anything, that speaks to me in a way like, well, if you have to make someone sign a legal agreement for them to prove to you that they love you, you have yet to love yourself. Because you are trying to make someone do that. Or you're setting it as a requirement to be with you, that they have to do that, instead of you actually questioning yourself as to why you require it in the first place. And to make sure and double check that it's not coming from a place within you where you feel that you're lacking something. So you have to make someone else go to an extent such as that for you to feel secure. We got to also be careful that we're not projecting our own insecurities and lacks within ourselves onto someone else. So again, I don't see why. And I've seen relationships go through ups and downs and still work. And they never mention marriage a day in their life. And they're over 35, 40 years together. So marriage is not the utmost of all. Marriage is only applied in situations where there is a legal concern or financial concern. And this is not exclusive to this, it's just an example. The high up CEO who really worked his or her ass off to get there, did everything there is, and they marry someone else who may or may not have done that for themselves. And so there has to be like a legal protection so that this person doesn't just end up walking away with half of what they built without them. That I understand. I can understand that. There's some kind of legal purpose as to why this is happening. Otherwise, if it's both of you in a relationship, and You both clearly love each other. And the dynamic is healthy enough that it makes sense for you guys to continue on with the relationship. I don't see the need for marriage, especially with what the original purpose of marriage was in the first place. It doesn't suit the normal average couple. It just, I don't know, it doesn't. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I know that people are going to have similar views, people are going to have opposing views, and people are just going to be indifferent. And I respect all points of view. At one point, I used to be the other point of view because, again, it wasn't necessarily my thinking that I was taking on at that time because I was so young, that I was going by what adults around me were, how they perceived it. So I thought it was something really important until I finally got to the point where I started to actually question everything in life, including myself and my own thought process, and trying to figure out what is actually me and what's not, and how things came about and why. Like, I looked very deep into like religion, relationships, everything, psychology. And I started, it opened my eyes a lot. It started to get my mind going and help me decipher why things have come into existence. Why does it have different significance now? What was the gain of that? Like, I've looked, and it was years, and I still look into it. I still embrace other people's perspectives because you never know what you can learn. But that's what I have come to, and that's what I've been come to since I left my first husband. It is, do I want to get married again? Probably not. Because why should he have to pay to leave me? Why should anyone have to pay anything to leave anyone? Because that personal relationship is no longer serving its purpose or being healthy. You know, like, I don't know. To me, it's a money grab. Just like weddings, you know, they're fun to go to, but let's admit it is a money grab. You don't have to have that in order to solidify anything between the both of you. And after a wedding, nothing changes in life either. It's not like all of a sudden, because you got married and had a wedding, this person's now going to change into what you want. They are still the same human being as you met them. And they're not going to remain the same after that, because they're going to continue on to go through their own inner evolution and adaptation to life. You guys are going to go through things. It's going to change and mold you, you know, hopefully for the better if you're working on yourself. But I just don't see the point in paying someone else in order to prove something. I think that concept more speaks to me in a way of like, well, then what is this person really trying to pursue to prove? And why do they need to prove it? What is it within themselves? Where in themselves do they not feel like who they are and what they have is enough? You know? But yeah, all perspectives are welcome. Keep the comments very respectful and mindful of one another. Don't bash people for their different perspectives. I like to keep everything basically just peaceful, guys. Like, I'm not here to make a huge outro. It's just really simple. Just be respectful of one another. You can voice your perceptions without bashing another. All right, guys. Bye.